in the kitchen, and there was Fox News saying, well, as soon as all the fires are out, they're going to have arson experts get in and the fire department to find out what happened. But we know it's not arson, and we know it's not terrorism. So he says there's no investigation's been done. The government, the fire department say they don't know what did it, but it's not Muslims and it's not arsonists. Even though the reporter goes on to say, though there was no one in there at the time that the fire started, no renovation going on. That is, the renovators weren't in there at the time. Now you're going to hear and see this for yourself. So this is an attack on logic. They've not looked at the evidence. The fire was only going for an hour, and they said no Islamic terror because Islamic terror doesn't exist. Remember Obama said that ISIS is the opposite of Islam, and that Islam is peace, and that Islam has never done anything wrong. But all you hear all day is about how bad Christianity is from our corporate media. And now Fox News is taking a giant, sickening turn to the globalist left. It just never ends. So here's part of that Fox News report. It's shocking.
This structure will be examined to make sure it's safe, and then firefighters will go in. They'll try to retrieve anything they can from this and also really assess what happened. There's going to be a team of 50 inspectors going in. The source of the fire, it is thought that it was the renovation work around the spire in the rear part of the nave. Somehow it set off this fire, but we've just learned that, in fact, all the renovation workers had left well before the fire started. So that raises questions, but no arson, absolutely no terrorism. That's being ruled out, and all of that is a good thing. Right now, outpouring of grief. I'm here right along
let's stop right there. Now, that just happened minutes ago, live from Paris. If you're a radio listener, with what's left of Notre-Dame, one of the most important religious sites for Christians in the world, beautiful piece of architecture and history regardless. And people risking their lives to get in and get the artifacts out that are priceless. And he says they have to go in and assess. They don't know what happened. No one's even gone in yet to assess things. But as soon as it's safe, they'll go in to find out what happened. But we know it wasn't arson, and we know it wasn't Islam. It's like they find a dead body with bullet holes in the back of your yard, and the police go, well, we know it wasn't foul play, but we don't know what happened. So we don't know what happened, but we know it wasn't foul play. Excuse me? So now, while a building's on fire, you're told not to ask questions, and all over MSNBC, CNN, they're attacking InfoWars on MSNBC and CNN. Surprise, surprise. They're attacking Paul Watson and saying, no one celebrated this on Twitter. No one celebrated it. No Islamic group celebrated it. And I have all their celebrations that are even in other newspapers. That's up on Infowars.com. These people are just incredibly hubris-filled. So let's go to Shep Smith, old Shep Smith, on Fox News yesterday. And he's sitting there interviewing folks. And, of course, they both, Caputo and he, interviewed leaders in the Catholic community, head of the Catholic League, government officials in France. And when they tried to ask a question, when they tried to say anything, they were shut down. Here it is. Jamie White, Infowars.com. Shep Smith cuts off French official for alluding to Islamic arson of Notre-Dame Cathedral. No, sir, we're not doing that here. Not now, not on my watch, snaps Smith. Not on his watch. He gets someone on that's a French official. The cathedral's been targeted. It's been attacked before by Islamists. The Islamists say they're targeting it. They don't know the cause, but the official story from Macron, who's opened the doors to Islamify France, is it's not that. So the official story is you're being told you're not going to look at what it is. That's right. At this point, when you're told don't look at something before the fires are even out, and you've got Islamic groups saying we're going to target this, and they have before, you've got to then default there's a cover-up. But they don't want you to be able to ask questions. That's the cardinal sin. Here is the clip.
Felipe Carcente is on the line with us, a French elected official who is in Paris now. Felipe, what have you seen and what do you know?
Well, I was close to the scene when it happened, and no, I left the place because we want to let people work around it. Everybody's really under shock now in France. I would tell you something. It's even if nobody died. I mean, it's like a 9/11. It's a French 9/11, you know, and it's a big shock. I mean, this church was there for more than 850 years. Even the Nazis didn't dare to destroy it. And you need to know that for the past years, we had churches desecrated each and every week in France, all over France. So, of course, you will hear the story about the politically correct, political correctness, which will tell you that it's probably an accident.
Sir, we're not going to speculate here of the cause of something which we don't know. If you have observations or you know something, we would love to hear it.
No, I'm just telling you something. What you need to be ready.
No, sir. We're not doing that here. Not now.
Okay.
Not on my watch.
Okay.
Felipe Carcente,
okay.
It's very good of you to be here.
Now, they're all on the news with no proof saying it's not Islamic and it's not arson. So they're speculating. They're lying. They're being definitive with no proof. They're engaged in fraud, regardless of what happened. This man says, we've got 800 churches burned up in the last year. That's what it is in France. Attacked. You've got that church being a major target. And he's saying, we're looking at this, and he's a French government official in the federal government, and Shep Smith hangs up on him. We got Caputo doing it too. They got the memo, folks. They got the memo. Islam's a religion of peace. Let them run your life. Convert your Sharia law. Bring them in just like Minnesota and elect an Ilhan Omar, and just everything's going to be happy as you know what. Pigs and you know what. Until, of course, they...
Well, Neil, if it is an accident, it's a monumental tragedy. But forgive me for being suspicious. Just last month, a 17th century church was set on fire in Paris. We've seen tabernacles knocked down. Crosses have been torn down. Statues have been smashed.
We don't know that. We don't know. So if we can avoid what your suspicions might be, I do want to look at what happens now. There was a very pricey rebuilding and renovation effort going on that involved a good deal of Catholic fundraising campaigns. I know in this country and abroad, this renovation was paid for up front. So in other words, all the monies were there. And now I'm wondering how much more the Catholic Church commits to this, or do you think now they first want to get to the bottom of it?
Well, first they have to get to the bottom of it, and they will rebuild it. There's no question about that. And certainly the Catholic Church will come up with the money for it. That's not even a question. But I'm sorry. I mean, when I find out that the Eucharist is being destroyed and excrement is being smeared on crosses,
wait a minute,
this
Bill,
is going on now.
Bill, I love you, Bill, but we cannot make conjectures about this. So thank you very much. Bill, I'm sorry. Thank you very, very much. I do want to let people know, and again, we're not trying to be rude to our guests here. There is so much we do not know about what happened here. We do know that about 4 hours ago, something started here. Now, there are incidents that have been raised against the Catholic Church, a lot of popular tourist sites, certainly in and around Paris, no stranger to attacks, but it is another leap to start taking views like that. Really don't know.
By the way, in just a few minutes, we'll get to the video. It's up on Infowars.com. ISIS supporters celebrate Notre-Dame's Inferno 3 years after terror groups failed bomb attack on the same cathedral. But that's okay, because Neil Caputo and Shep Smith say, it doesn't matter if you're the head of the Catholic League, it doesn't matter if you're a federal official in the government that they invite on as a guest, and you say, listen, they're blowing up churches everywhere. They said they would attack in and around Easter. They do this all over the world. No, it's not Islamic. It's not Islamic. Do not look there. Okay? We haven't investigated. We haven't looked. But we're going to tell you it's not Islamic and it's not terror. Even though there was nobody working in the building at the time, we're just going to tell you that we know it's not Islam because it is the religion of peace, period. Meanwhile, we've had giant caravans, hundreds of thousands every few weeks, slamming into the United States. We have Democratic Party paid-for buses just picking up men, women, and children who disappear to be given fake IDs and vote. A permanent underclass, a new giant group of caravans just smashed over the Mexican border with Guatemala, overrunning police, just like last year. That's all happened. And we've got new giant waves of Islamic invasion, millions now pouring into Europe, a third giant wave. It's all happening. And you've got the former head of Homeland Security, the former head of ICE, both coming out and saying this is the worst crisis ever. It's 3 times any number we've ever seen. And I see some leftist press blaming Trump. Oh, the reason there's record people coming here is because of you. No, the UN, George Soros, the State Department set it up with the refugee centers to prepare this and to break our border. Steve Watson has the article at Infowars.com. Obama Border Patrol head. Crisis is worst in the history of the country. So, while the Democrats got the refugee centers built and the millions ready to bum rush us, they said, this isn't happening. There's no caravan. There's no crisis. There's no diseases. There's no crime. And now that the courts are overwhelmed, the military is overwhelmed, federal law enforcement, ICE, the Border Patrol, it's all overwhelmed. Now, oh, it is a big crisis, and it's Trump's doing. It's Trump. Trump created the crisis. Trump put the children in cages. Trump. Good Lord.